A very good afternoon once again. So, yet another very exciting chat that is going to happen about building meaningful art collections just beyond aesthetics. We've been kind of working a lot on that one. We are in conversation with Amit Jain, Arjun Handa, and Ayesha Parikh. This chat is going to discover the personal journeys of building art collections with insights from seasoned collectors. The panel explores their inspirations, the evolution of their collecting strategies, and the stories behind key acquisitions. Topics include the emotional and financial aspect of collecting, handling works that no longer resonate, and the changes needed in the Indian art market to better support emerging talents and new collectors. Today with us, we have Amit Jain. Amit Kumar Jain is an independent art and culture manager with expertise in museum management, auctions, acquisitions, and private collections. He has previously held key roles at the Museum of Art and Photography, MAP, in Bangalore, Saffron Art, the Savara Foundation for the Arts, and the Devi Art Foundation. Along with us, we also have Arjun Handa. He is a chairman of Claris Group, who's transformed the company from a small family business into a global specialty injectables leader, reaching a valuation of over $1 billion. Recognized for his leadership, he has received multiple accolades and now focuses on sustainable ventures like Abalone Waste to Energy. But outside of all of this, he is an avid art collector, and he's going to fill in that side of the chat. The conversation is led by Ayesha Parikh, who is the founder of Art and Charlie in Bombay. It's a wonderful, one of the top 3 galleries as rated by Art Mumbai, and one of the leading galleries rated by Architectural Digest. Her pursuit has always been to make art more accessible, and has been also tapping on multiple areas with respect to collection management and various aspects related to collectors' works. So thank you so much for being on the panel with us. Over to you.
Okay. Can everybody hear? Yeah? Okay. Lovely to be here with, like Vivek put it, 2 seasoned collectors. Very interesting chat. I already know this is going to be because we have completely different sort of philosophies on collecting art, and can't wait to get into this. Before we start, I just wanted to contextualize a few things on the usual reason why people collect art from all the research and all the sort of experience and chats that I've had so far. Here are the two main reasons why people collect art, right? One is that it's a self-consumption. It's something that you consume, and the other is the investment side. So let's tackle it one by one. One of the things that stood out to me when I started collecting art some years ago is that once the work is in your house and there's a lot, sorry, 1 second, there's a lot of echo, I can't hear myself. Yeah? Better, thank you. So one of the things that I really loved over time is that when you're sitting in front of the artwork in your living room, let's say you come in the morning and have your first cup of tea in front of it. The mood of the time, the context that I'm in at the time makes me interpret different things about the artwork. It's almost like a dialogue I have with it all the time. There's a metaphor that I like using, which is, I don't know if you've seen this movie called Inside Out. Inside Out 2, and they talk about different experiences that you go through in your life that then you pick out your core values from, and that those core values almost become this intertwined tree in your life that all your decisions are based on. And art actually becomes a physical way to see your own values and be surrounded by these values in your own home. That's what stood out to me. Let me actually now ask, let's start with you, Arjun. What exactly, firstly, drew you to art? Do you even remember your first the first artwork you bought, and how it made you feel.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I remember the first couple of pieces that I bought, and I think it was a good feeling when I bought that art because it was the first art. Otherwise, there was nothing else on the walls or something else on the walls. So, yeah, the feeling was good to finally feel that there is some art with me. I mean, and it was not only about having expensive art or feeling the sense of arrival through art. It was just having some kind of depiction, some emotion, some mehnat, labor of love gone into creating something. It was more about seeing that on the walls compared to anything else.
Got it. And Amit, how would you
Yeah,
describe your first work?
is it on? Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to Ahmedabad and to Raw. It's the first time I'm getting to see this. Well, I think for me, I remember my first work very clearly. It was an etching by an artist called Stuti Vasavada, who's Baroda based, and I bought it during the Government of India Junior HRD Scholarship interview in Nagpur. I was one of the artists who had applied for it to get a grant, and I just loved the work. And we had all displayed our works on some steps, and I said I love it. It's called Poppy Fields. It reminded me of Vincent van Gogh, and bought it for 2,000 rupees. She didn't sell it to me because she thought I was an idiot, like a student who was trying to impress a girl. But after I think 3 or 4 months, when I met her again in Baroda, we finally cracked that deal. 2,000 rupees was cracking a deal that time. Yeah, so I remember that work. Uh, yeah, still has a very special place in my heart. Yeah.
Love that. And okay, but to both of you, how has over time, as you've been collecting, it's been years for both of you now. Do you feel like your strategies or what you like has changed, which is one, and secondly, how would you describe the kind of works you like to begin with?
Long question.
So I think when I first started collecting, I had told myself I don't want to buy expensive art. Just because I felt that buying expensive art is more a show of arrival, money, etc., versus how I feel with the art. So I've always felt art is an emotion, it is not an aesthetic. You've got other aesthetics in your house to play with, furniture, architecture, etc. And the artists who are creating the art have a lot going on inside of them, which is then sort of translated into art. So the first filter I had was that not expensive. The second filter I had was not famous, because then obviously famous artists prices have gone up, I mean, etc., etc. Once you are big and famous, I don't know how much of real sort of love and pain they still have while they are making a painting as compared to an aspirational artist who has not made it, and their sort of vibes and energies that go into making that art. So I think it was more about how I felt. The third thing was I said I will not look at the art before I buy. What I mean with is that I'm not going to go into a gallery, keep on viewing it from different sides, go to multiple galleries, keep seeing different art. So I had a couple of people I knew, friends. I just told them, if some art comes across your way, please send it to me. So I used to get emails, and then I would take some printouts of images, and I would sit on a Sunday whenever I had some time, and I would just flip. It was as if I was reading a magazine, and whatever caught my eye, I would shortlist it. So first shortlist would happen, and then sort of the second shortlist would happen, where I would feel more sort of connected to that art. And there was a price given for that art on that printout. My secretary would keep a print with the artist name, size, price, etc. And I would think, do I want to pay this price or not? I would put my price on it. What I felt that I could afford, I would pay, I would value, whatever you want to call it, right? So, and I would do that and then give it to my secretary to negotiate. And I never wanted to get too attached to it, because art can become a life. It can become a relationship for somebody, because it is so deep a thing that if I start developing a relationship with art, then I will want it. And then I will value it, then I will overvalue it, and God knows where I will go with it. So I decided to remain detached to that art, saying, "Ke, if I can get it in so much of money, etc., I'll buy it. Otherwise, no." So that is how I sort of collected. More, it is more of a connection for me, nothing else. It's not about big names. It's not about aesthetics. It's not about showing it off in the drawing room. It's not, and I will never consult anyone before I buy art,
Yeah.
because then people will fill up your mind with voices. If there's some friends, they will have an opinion. If there's a gallerist, they will have an opinion. The artist will have an opinion. He or she will try to sell you their story. But it is, all of those people are going to be gone after I buy. When I am sitting with that piece of art, it's only going to be me and the art. And then nothing that they said is going to matter to me versus what I am feeling with it when I'm sitting with it. So most of the times I will not consult people. I will directly buy it and put it where I want to put it.
This is wonderful because this is like one extreme of like how you buy. The process of how you buy is very interesting. If the point that you said where you don't even go to galleries, you don't look at the art before buying. How many times is it that you saw the picture and it was better or worse than how you thought it would be when the art came?
60, 70% of the time it was better. 30% of the time, maybe it was a bit more muted. But I think it's not, when I looked at the image and I bought it, I did not have any expectations. It'll be matte, glossy, big, small, shiny, etc. I could imagine the size because it was written.
Yeah.
And that's about it. So I had developed a connect to that image, what they were depicting.
The composition first.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the big picture of it.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand art technically at all. Oil on canvas, acrylic, mixed media, God knows what all of that is. While collecting, I've understood it a little bit. But even now, it doesn't matter to me. That image done with anything doesn't matter to me. I am just buying it for the image of it.
Right. And now that you have lived with all this art, you weren't attached to it before, yes, so that in case you don't get it, you're not hurt. That also happens a lot. But once you have it in your home and you've lived with it, did you find an attachment after that? How has that happened? Like,
No, absolutely. I think once the pieces came in and they were there and I started living my life with them, there are some pieces that I've really, really sort of developed a deep, intense relationship with. And there's probably 10, 20 pieces I can't live without, out of everything else. And I sometimes sit and think, जो ये चले गया आएगा तो क्या होगा? And I sort of mentally play this game while I'm in my house or wherever, where what can I let go of? What will I sell and what will I not sell? So yeah, that game goes on.
that's interesting. What about you, Amit?
I wish I had a secretary to negotiate. No, I think no one is born a collector. So I mean, we have collected now for maybe 20 years, and it's become almost like a hoarding practice. You hoard, and when you have a lot of things, you become a collector. So that's a very simple definition. But truly, a collector really is one who, over time, has a narrative in a collection, who has chosen artworks filtered. If you get bored of something, to make a narrative that one associates with, right? So in my case, it's a lot of personal narratives. I think I also bought art. I didn't have filters. I bought art because I wanted to be an artist, and I think when I saw artists creating, there was a sense of uh, maybe I'm not a failed artist, but I wanted to study in Baroda. I never got through. I tried 3 to 4 times, and so I chose up advertising as a career, which also I failed at. Became a curator eventually, but then I started meeting artists who were doing what I wish I could do, and unlike unlike you, I have a lot of connections with the artists. I hang out with them at studios. I don't interact much with galleries. They do tend to, take you in a different direction. But my entire training in art has been hanging out with artists and learning from them. And I think when you know those stories, where they're coming from, you end up somehow relating yourself to that. And that's how I would buy my work, is that, oh, there's a story which I wanted to tell as an artist, but somebody else has done it for me. So why don't I take this and live with it and maybe in the long run it will have the same values which hold good. A very different perspective. From an impersonal to a personal, most of these artists have remained lifelong friends. Um, where that even today some of them may offer me the first work they make for an exhibition, saying that why don't you take this. But at some point of time, and maybe today I'm at this stage where I think it's not about the numbers of artworks one can own, but how the quality of every single artwork in your collection matters. So yeah, but it was a very long question, a very long answer, but that's me in a nutshell. Over the years, of course, I have my collection has actually changed from wherever I have worked. So I'm not a trained art historian. I jumped into the curatorial field. I worked with the best of the best people in the country, and trained my eyes with them. So my first job is with Lekha and Anupam Podar at Devi Art Foundation. With them, I learned how to look at contemporary South Asian art. And while they were buying, I started also picking up works, maybe a Bangladeshi artist or a Sri Lankan artist and stuff like that. And then I went to study, work with Mr. Rajiv Savara, one of the top collectors for pre-modern and modern Indian art. That's when I started looking at someone like a Somnath Hoare, Zarina Hashmi, and I got completely hooked onto postmodernist, maybe printmaking practices. And then I went to saffron art, where I learned about the art market and the pre-moderns and the moderns. And that's maybe the first time I said, okay, maybe I should own a Sousa drawing, or maybe I saw a Padamsi print, I should get that. So I started looking at moderns. And so the collection is actually, and then of course at Saffron I was heading the folk art auctions. So I started looking at Jangar Singh Sham, Jivya Soma Mase, and how the folk artists were also coming into mainstream fine art. So over the years, I have collected everything where I have worked. And I think my journey of collecting is my journey of my career, which has aligned itself quite well. So now I have a bit of everything. Maybe it's lacking of focus, I don't know, but then I don't care because it's mine. So yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Like on one hand, yeah, like you said, like there's it's all about your visceral connection with the work and nothing else matters to the point where anything else will interfere versus the exact opposite approach of
Yeah.
narrative first, I want to know the artist. For me, it's a little bit of, I love socio-political works. That's what made me fall in love with art. Understanding that especially in the present day, and let's come to it, because you'll see a little more. We're going to share 3-4 works from all three of us, and then have a little talk through so you understand our collections and we can talk through it. Yes, please. It's difficult. I know that when you're just talking about art and you're not actually seeing the visuals, it's difficult to follow just with names. So we've put this little slideshow. I hope you can.
You want us to move?
Yeah,
I
maybe
think.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're starting with Amit.
Okay. Maybe I'll come here. Okay. All right, Meli Gobai. So, as an art student, I finally did get through an art school, and I was introduced to this artist called Meli Gobai, who was living in Bombay, and one of the best artists I think of our times, especially with abstract art. And he's represented by Gallery Kimold. Meli was the first artist I met as a student, my first studio visit. And I think the moment I met him and he started talking about how to look at art, what are the exercises one should do, there was an instant connection with him. And I think over many trips to Bombay, every third or fourth trip, I would go meet him and see what he's up to. And slowly, I don't understand abstract art maybe, but I think the kind of colors and the lines that he was using really called out to me. And luckily, there was a time I was instrumental in also doing a show for him in Delhi. It was a solo show with the gallery. Unfortunately, it didn't do well. I think people didn't wake up to Meli much after he was gone. The reason I chased the gallery to give me a work after he died, because this is the memory I have of a mentor who basically taught me how to look at art. I was 21, I think, or 20 or 21 when I first met him in his studio. His dog was there, very loving man. And he gave me an exercise that you should have 3 diaries in college. a diary where you sketch from life, where you look at things and you sketch. The other diary is your basically unconscious, which is when you're talking on the phone and you're scribbling. And say the third diary is when you mix both of them, and that's when you become a good artist. And I think that stayed with me forever, and I really try to implement that as an art student as well. So this is a work that I had to really chase and get. Uh, I can't get enough of it. Managed to get one more, and finally a month ago one more. So I'm at that stage where now I want to collect an artist in depth rather than have one work each, because when you look at an artist's career, you tend to see how they think, how they move, how they also mature, just like all of us, right? We all mature, our collecting habits change. So this is Melly Go By. We can move on. Ronnie Sen, a photographer that's represented by Tark in Bombay. This is one photograph that called out to me the moment I saw it. I used to run a blog called Ghumakkar, and I was basically a travel photographer during my college time. And when I saw this, it's almost, I mean, the ambassador car, of course, is an iconic image of the country. And photographers like Raghuveer Singh have shot so much of it. But when I saw this, it was almost like a self-portrait for me. I treat myself as a loner, and I've traveled with my camera bags and my tripods through sites like these. And I think it was just one of those extremely well-composed images that I couldn't say no to. So this was shown at the India Art Fair maybe 5 years ago, before COVID actually. And I loved it so much that two of my other gallery friends just gifted it to me. So thanks to them that I own this work, and including Tarak. They all came together and just said, why don't you take this? So there can be gifts also. You have to become friends with gallerists. So this is a fantastic, it's very small, but it has that punch that a photograph should have. We can move on. Zarina Hashmi, probably my top 5 artists in my life. This is a work titled Her Father's House, My Father's House. And I actually bought this work when I was completely unemployed. 2013, I had just quit my job. I had a girl, like a baby, and I wasn't making any money, and I was going to study. But when I saw this at the India Art Fair, I just knew I had to get it. It's a very spontaneous, wild decision. And thanks to, I mean, of course, I'm giving credit to the galleries who've been very helpful in making collections. So this was bought from Chatterjee and Lal in Bombay, third Bombay gallery I'm talking about for some reason. And then this is a work, I've lived in maybe 4 homes in the last 10, 15 years. And this is the first work everyone gets to see when they enter my home, because it's also a blueprint of her home. Home has many meanings, right, for all of us. It's, first of all, we're all nomads now, so what is home? Where do you get kind of settled in? What are the politics of a family? What happens when you sell a property? Then what do you do? So I think in very simple lines, Zarina's managed to, I mean, these in Urdu are also basically the names of the rooms she's given. But for me, though, it's the idea of home, and sometimes I feel I don't know which one is mine. So yeah, this is what I live with. I'm glad that it's going to be always in the collection, and hopefully we'll have a longer life with the next generation. Yeah. And the last one is Ram Kumar. So I wish I could buy his canvases, but they're extremely expensive. And this was one of those lucky stories. So collecting, of course, has stories, right? I'm sure you have a lot. So this is, I bought this 6 years ago. And I actually had gone to see a collector who was selling old miniature paintings in Delhi, which was not my subject. There were 2 beautiful 19th century Nathdwara paintings, which I couldn't resist. And I bought them for 10,000 rupees each. And in that collection was this. It was a great find, and I just looked at him and her, sorry, and I said, this looks like a Ram Kumar. She said, yeah, I think it's a Ram Kumar. So, and I said, so my daughter was maybe 4 that time, and when I saw this, it was again taken to the point. I said, this is what childhood is. It's free of stress, free of any strings that people pull you in different directions. It's just happiness. And the moment I saw it, I said, I want to have it. Luckily, Ram Kumar was still alive, and we could show him the work. The moment we showed him, he remembered he had gifted it to Bishambar Khanna of Modern School, Barakhamba Road. And from there, by descent, it came to his daughter-in-law. And then, luckily, Vadera Art Gallery, so the first Delhi gallery in this presentation, was kind enough to give me a certificate for it, and I managed to buy it from them. But again, if you see, all the four works have a very personal connection to my life. One is a self-portrait through Ronnie Sen's photograph. This luckily is also my daughter's favorite work, and I know it's not going anywhere. It's going to be with her. And Zarina's home is the idea of home and where you belong. And Meli is the first artist studio I visited. So my collecting journey, and now that I filter my collection, which you may ask at some point about if we sell or not, but as I filter my collection, every work is going to be my journey of my life. And I've also started documenting it through writing, so that at some point of time, if I go early, there's some reason to why I bought something and people can relate to that. So 4 works from my collection, tough. As I told Ayesha, you're asking me to pick my favorite baby. But hopefully, the reason I picked this is because this is my journey that I presented through a college student, through a traveling photographer, through my first bankruptcy buy, and to my daughter. So yeah, that's
Love
my
that.
journey.
Love that.
You want to come?
Arjun, you're up next.
Yeah, I love them too.
Yeah, so I just bought this because I felt that there's just raw chairs and there's one sort of single chair put there. I didn't go with the story that the artist had said. Just looked at it, liked it. It was supposed to be sort of, and you can rearrange it in any format you want to rearrange it in. So I think it's a good sort of, it has that flexibility that you can play with it. And yeah, I mean, I just like the randomness of it. I think it encourages all sorts of thoughts when you look at it. It's not sort of piercing you into one direction, making you feel a certain way. So I think the openness of all emotions is the one that sort of attracted me to it. You can go next. So this I bought only because of the title, because I resonate with the title that, it's put on all sorts of gears to make the person safe, but ultimately reality of life is you are not safe anywhere you go. Anything can happen at any time. So it was actually a reversal. I bought this for the title and not the image. And but because there was some sort of connect and resonation there. Go next. This is, as we were talking, this is one of the special works because this is made from sort of goatskin bags, the bags that carry water on the back of camel. And Iranna has arranged it in a way where they're supposed to be hung. So I've hung them in the middle of a room. And the way I've placed some of the art is that the space belongs to the art, and we are, by the way, there. So art is put in inconvenient places where people are sitting and talking to each other. There's something protruding from the side. Something is put in the middle of the room. So I think this is that special place. I think there's a lot of different emotions one can feel while one is looking at it. There's survival of the desert. There's water as scarcity. There's animal sort of story attached to it. There's also a sense of gambhirta, some pain, some journey and travel within, with a camel in the desert. So there's a sort of feeling of a journey that sort of comes to mind. So yeah, this is one of those sort of more favorite ones. Go next. So this is again, I don't like abstract art. I rarely have abstract art. It's all most to do with humans or animals or something like that. But I found this to be good because these are, I think bronze, I would say pebbles and marbles put, and just a piece of stone or a rock. So I think and they are splattered everywhere. So you can make this art into a 2x2 art or a 6x6 art, whatever way you want. However you want to sort of splatter all the pebbles and the marbles across. So I think I just like the openness and the abstract sort of thoughts that it gave. Go next. Yeah, I bought this. So this is one of the art that I bought after seeing because we were traveling and it just caught my eye. I saw it in a gallery. Again, the mixture of human, monkey, ostrich, animal in a drawing living room with sofa. I think there's a mix of everything, and uh, I think I got a good sort of weird sense from it that if it's put somewhere, it explains the fluidity and everything merging together, and that's why I sort of bought that. Yeah, that's it.
There's actually an interesting story when I was talking to you about the art you have. One of the things that really stood out for me is this. You always hear people collecting, art that's positive in the house. Like, I don't want anything that's dark. I don't want anything that is going to give me a darker mood. But you go to Arjun's space, and all of it has this really interesting darker tone, and it blew my mind that your entire house, how are you, what is that, why are you, what is making you do that, and that your answer struck out to me. So I'd love for you to explain. um,
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to give you the same answer right now, but you can sort of supplement it. So every time I've bought art, it is out of an emotion. So I've seen the image, I've felt an emotion, I've bought it, I've kept it, and I've kept feeling that emotion. And I think listening to you guys and the narratives and the story, one thing that struck my mind is that how my collection has grew is by my emotions. So if you see a 2013 by versus a 2017 by versus sort of now, I am able to sense how I've moved on in life and how my emotions have changed. And because I've always bought art for myself, for my own consumptions, I didn't, I never had a story to say or to show. This is my story for me. And if I die with that story, I'm very happy. I don't want to tell anyone that story. It's that precious for me. So I think it is that emotion that goes. And yeah, so I bought art when I felt pain. I bought art when I felt disillusioned. I bought art when I've wanted to feel safe. I've not bought art for positivity. Even some commercial pop art that I have, it has everything to do with animals, and I love animals. So I think I bought the art for the animal part of it and not for the famous commercial pop art value of it.
Right. And there was one line that you said, that I'm just going to bring out, which is that, yes, like you said, there's been pain, there's all of this that has happened in your life, and at some point you decided, you're just going to wear it on your sleeve. That is the journey that you went through, and so that is part of who you are, and that's so much, like, both of your collections are so much about who you are, right? And there are so many different ways to build collections, which is why I wanted to bring out these works by both of you. Just a quick walk through a very different type of collection that I've been building. Again, all emerging artists, well, not one, we'll come to that. This is Gargi Chandola, very feminist works. The monkeys are meant to be the male gaze. The woman is persevering through all of that and doing her thing. You can move on. This is, you might have seen Riya Chandiramani's work here already. What I love about her work is, it's at the intersection of pop and miniature, which I haven't seen before myself. The other thing is, she talks about Frosties and all these nostalgia brands that we know. And then to talk about consumerism, to talk about capitalism, and all that it's done on our society. Left us with, you have Durga on like this, on this Frosties tiger beating up demons, and I thought that was quite feminist as a work. This is Samantha Batra Mehta. This is one of the works that actually, most of my collection is very socio-politically charged, because that's what I saw in museums for the 10 years that I was not in India. All I saw were these like socio-political works, and that's what stayed with me. But Samantha Batra Mehta is one of those artists that works on a very personal note around the idea of the human condition and the environment around it. So she uses these found objects, old objects, antique objects, and then does these works of foliage and human anatomy to, again, as a stand-in metaphor for the human condition. I love psychology. I love understanding how people work and behavior works, and that comes through in this. Um, you might have also seen works by Oshin Siva here in our section, but this particular work floored me, and so I wanted to add it here. Oshin Siva is a Tamil Dalit artist that works with futurism. I love the story that we never talk about the Dalit community as having a future. We only talk about their oppressed side, their oppression, their marginalization. But that community has a future. There's a positive thing that they can look at. And a lot of her work is based on this idea of this graphic novel-esque visual, which I really love, because some of the most futuristic visuals, whether it's manga or something else, has come from graphic novels, and she takes that to talk about futurism. There's also a hint of Afrofuturism in there. She always uses, for example, the buffalo, what do you call it? Horns. Thank you. Buffalo horns that they have. These are all animals that are considered dirty or not represented well in art, and I love that about bringing it back to the forefront and making it into art. So yeah, that's my um, yeah.
The three different collections you just saw. Mine is extremely silent and quiet, as you can see, and Aisha's is completely colorful, shows the personality. And the word that Arjun was using was random, but you can see the collection extremely playful. He can actually engage with his works in a very playful manner by moving them around. I can see a lot of 3D in it. That's quite interesting. So there are three different perspectives. Yeah.
I think I want to share one learning while I was collecting. 2 years into collecting, I had no theory, I had no sort of training. So I just came across a post which said art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comforted. And it's a famous saying, I think, in the art world. Everyone knows it, but for me it was very new. And once I saw it, I found a lot of shelter in it, because everyone questioned, why do you like dark art? Why are you buying pain? Why are you buying all this, sad looking stuff? And my only answer to that was, because it was always friends questioning me in a social setting in my house. My reply would always be, this is true life तो ऐसी होती है, etc., just casually chit-chatting. And that's when I found sort of my answer, that this type of sort of real art, dark art, whatever you want to call it, it was giving me comfort. And that is why I was buying it. And at the same time, whoever came through, most of them were getting disturbed. Right? And seeing them disturbed gave me a lot of pleasure. only not because I'm a sadist, because it made them question themselves.
Yeah.
After they came and they saw stuff and they were really pondering. That night, those 2-3 hours was very bad for them. And they kept on debating and, building philosophies, कि ऐसा नहीं होता है, नहीं करना चाहिए, etc. And that was good fun. Yeah. That I am comfortable with this reality. And for you guys, maybe it's tough to swallow that reality. And right now you're rattled. And it's good, it's growth for everyone.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Love that. Okay. The other question is, people keep talking about art and investment. How do each of you think about art as investment? Have your collections seen increase, or have you even bothered to check?
Unfortunately, I'm in the art market, so I get to know it, that the valuations are changing. But I'll tell you from experience, whenever I bought an artwork for money, I made the wrong decision. So art should be is something that you connect with. If you buy it for the reason that you fall in love with it, it will always be a part of your family, it will be part of your walls, and you'll never let go. The moment you have a different agenda to it, I mean, there are people, of course, who invest in art, and I do advise them how to buy for investment. That's where I make the right decisions, by the way. But when it comes to a personal taste, I bought art thinking this art is going to go big and I should buy it. And believe me, within a year, I've sold it off because I've got bored of it very quickly on my walls. I just can't live with it. I bought it for the wrong reason. So maybe the soul of the painting is not aligning with my agenda. There's been a big valuation change in the last maybe 15 odd years of Indian art. Yes, it reflects in the collection that I have bought. But the fact is that there's no sense putting a value to a painting because unless you want to sell it. Now, what I'm owning is not for sale. So it's like buying a home, right? When people say you own an asset, but yeah, it's your home. If you sell it, where will you go? If I sell the art, where will I go? So for me, the valuation game doesn't matter if it goes into 100 rupee to 1,000 rupee. But what matters most is the emotional return that I get out of it is many, many more times compounded than a mutual fund interest. I live with it. Every morning it makes me realize what I've given up, what I've gained, what I can do, what's my future. And I think there's no other asset on the face of the earth that gives you that kind of a return. So yeah, that's how I look at art as an investment. If you're looking to buy for investment, there's a very different strategy. Then please don't be emotional fools, is what I will say. Because the moment you have to have people advising you about what the art market is. Don't buy, like what you said was fantastic, that you always bought of what you responded to. So a lot of people in our industry buy what they hear. Arjun is an example of what he sees. And I think the more you see, the more you will be able to understand what you want to live with in the future. And that's where the valuation game really comes into play. So listen to the right people, but see it from your own eyes, is the advice I'm going to give you. And yes, there are advisors who will tell you that खरीद लो, investment अच्छा है, बढ़ जाएगा. It doesn't hold true. There is maths to it, there is logical sense to it. And whoever tells you that artist मरने वाला है, please उसको तो आप घर से बाहर निकाल दीजिएगा. That's an extremely incorrect way to buy art. How can you even think of someone's death just to make money off it? So if you're surrounded by art advisors like those, I would say change your friend circle. So yeah.
So I have never bought as a financial investment. I never bought big art, like big works, which would become an investment. I have no clue what the value is right now. Actually, I was excited talking to Amit because I've approached a couple of people to sell some of my works that I have. Because in between, I had gotten into a phase where I was hoarding art. Right, I just saw everything that I liked. I kept on buying. Had to get a warehouse, then you store it. फिर उसको संभालो, then it needs some humidity, some AC, whatever. I said, I'm not going to get into all of that. If I have space to put up that art, I will buy. If I don't have space to put it up, I won't buy. It's just like if you don't have space in your wardrobe, you're not going to keep buying clothes, right? So that's when I stopped sort of buying that. I will run out of spaces. But yeah, I wish somebody could see the collection, help me value it, sell some, churn some. Hopefully selling some pieces will help me buy something new, etc. So yeah, I've never sort of bought it for investments, but because I've wanted to encourage emerging artists, some people have told me that some things that I have maybe appreciated, but yet to be seen.
I want to add to that. Very interesting thing that he's mentioned is that, so this is a strategy which I also have, that at some point I became a hoarder. And I would be buying impulsively at galleries कि पहले मुझको चाहिए और किसी को नहीं मिलना चाहिए. And I think that's a very negative way of looking at art. So what and it was during COVID, a lot of rethinking happened, right, for all of us. So what I said, I'm going to just put everything I own on the wall, and whatever's not on the wall is going to be sold. Basically, if it's not on the wall, it's not important enough. So that's how I started decluttering my collection. And so there are still some closets that slowly are going to keep getting empty. But what's on the wall stays on the wall. Is permanent. And I think that's a very good way, because what's the use of buying something and putting into storage? उसके लिए तो फिर shares खरीदो या mutual funds खरीदो या जो भी खरीदो, gold खरीदो ना. But art, if you're buying, you might as well live with it. So I really resonate with what you're saying here, that, you know, doesn't fit in, doesn't fit in.
Love that. No, that makes sense. You know, that emotional value is what you chase, and that's what you keep. Have you ever, you know, sort of engaged in what do you do with art? Arjun already mentioned how he deals with that, but how do you deal with sort of churning your collection? You're also in the industry. How do you manage that?
So first of all, there's nothing wrong to sell some art from a collector's home. A lot of people say it's unethical and this and that. It's the way you sell it really makes a difference. Many times I've bought work directly from studios before they were signed up by galleries, or I bought them, or many times I've got a gift. So every time I've got a work where there was a very purest reason to get it, I've actually let go in the same way. So what I did recently is I put some art on Instagram to sell and raise money for a charity of dogs that I believe in, because that's how I got adopted my dog. The whole idea is very simple. I don't want anyone to say that I'm making a quick buck out of my collection. So whatever sold went straight to charity, and the money never hit my bank account. So that's one way to churn your collection. But yes, if you own a master and the valuation is different, and one is in need of money, you put it into an auction. I've never done that yet. I don't own anything like that, basically. But yeah, I mean, I think I just put it on my Instagram and people buy it.
You also gift a lot of people.
I gift a
Gift a
lot.
lot of art.
So I've been supporting a lot of emerging artists like you. I've been buying from studios, colleges, come to Faculty of Fine Arts every year. And I think that's one way I think I'm giving back to my own society, of which is my fraternity. But many a times these works are just bought to support artists, not to collect. And yeah, so the part of that is tend to be gifted away to people that matter. You know, I won't give it to everyone. Someone has to love it.
Okay, one last thing before we you know, get audience questions. What advice would you give someone who's just beginning to think about collecting? Anything that you later learned or learned through your process in collecting? What advice would you give them?
God, that's tough.
I think my advice would be, and this is through my own introspection, that whoever is buying art, I think you just buy it for yourself. When I was trying to buy in India, I thought, you know, I could have a very good collection in India. In between, I went down to in the journey of collecting masters, etc. Never did it. About thinking, so I went to some art fairs, met some big sort of galleries, and the stories and narratives that came out really disillusioned me. And I don't think you can ever arrive in, as far as art goes, you can never arrive in an art scene, in something else. You know, if you build a dream house for yourself, you will be happy in that house, right? Art is evolving. You've got some art today, something else better comes up tomorrow, you know. You've got one dream car, you can buy that one dream car and be settled. So in art, I don't think you ever settle. It's a journey, it is continuous. You keep buying or you keep liking something. So my advice is to buy what you like, to buy, to use, to consume, and then whatever happens, happens. I mean, if it appreciates, great. If it gets sold, great. Going down any narrative or anyone trying to sell you any story of, you know, your collection can be built and it can be great, etc. It's very fluid, very dynamic. And as soon as I went from India to the global sort of art scene, it was even bigger and it was never ending. And so I think it's your personal journey or personal possession. I don't make a story out of art, or I don't want to make a collection out of art, is how I would sort of advise.
Interesting.
Okay, I agree with the start, buy what you love, but there are different perspectives. One is if you're buying contemporary art, for example, which is much lower in value, the advice is yes, buy what you love, buy what you live with, buy the story it is going to tell you. I will also encourage you to speak to galleries. I know it's intimidating to speak to galleries or walk into them, but for younger collectors now, when I also do a lot of tours during art fairs and all of that. They want to know the story behind the artist. They want to know the story behind the gallerist, behind their programming. And I think it's very good to befriend a gallerist. So this is in your favor.
Thank you.
And if you look at what was happening in the 60s and the 70s, a lot of these collectors became best friends with, say, Kiku Gandhi or with Pandod or with Mr. Arun Vadera, who were dealing with the masters. And because of that friendship, they were able to make great collections. Also, these are valid people who are really important for validation. So they know, you also know that you're not buying a work which is going to be incorrect in provenance or something like that. So eventually, learn, read, look, but buy what you love. If you're buying for investment, my advice is very different because it's not for love anymore. Please hire an art advisor. Not that because I'm one. Today, the market has evolved not only in terms of the collector base, but also pricing, where the most expensive Indian artwork is now $7 million. And the fake market has actually jumped even faster. And I actually get to see a fake a day. That's actually a great Instagram account, a fake a day. Maybe I should just do that. But the fact is that many people I know are buying incorrect works. And they're paying the top price for it. So if you're buying for investment, please get an art advisor with credibility. There are many floating around before you take that jump. Otherwise, you're going to regret half of your purchases. So that's my advice.
Yeah, should we let's open the floor for questions, I think. Any questions on collecting art?
Don't leave so soon. No, I'm kidding. Okay, no
Okay.
questions.
Yeah. Oh,
Hello. Thank you for your talk. It was actually coincidental that I'm here, but I'm a designer, but I've traveled to India often, and I've always asked my friend who is from India, like, how do I get in contact with artists or spaces where I can buy as a young person from outside of India, Indian art? Because I find this entry hard, or I actually just don't know where can you advise where you would start, or what is a good entry point?
For artists or for galleries?
no, as a collector from outside of India, how do you start? How do you even begin to understand what's going on here?
I think I'll just give you a short answer and then you can sort of take
We
him
will all
down the
answer.
path. But I feel new galleries can give you some new good emerging stuff. All the bigger established galleries are playing in the big league. So new emerging galleries is where I would go to see if you can find something you like.
Where are you based, if I may ask?
In Berlin,
Oh, okay, but you come to India quite often, right?
once or
Okay.
twice a year.
Okay, so if you're based out of Berlin, I mean, I look at art on Instagram, and that's where I really stalk a lot of people. I discover artists on Instagram. Um, but what you just follow all the top 20, 30 galleries we have. We don't have many. But if you're coming to India, please, in any metro, you'll find a lot of galleries to visit. But if you're coming to places like Ahmedabad or Baroda, which are more cultural cities, educational cities, in fact, these are cities which will actually welcome you with quite open arms. There are a lot of artist studios that you can visit, and I don't think there's an entry ticket to anyone. So now the thing is, how do you discover them? You have to ask your friend in India how to discover them because not everything is online. But I feel that we are a very open society, and we welcome anyone who wants to be in the art and culture segment. And unlike a lot of people, I mean, I do say galleries are intimidating, but yes, if you ask a question, they will respond. But and for design point of view, since you said you're a designer, right?
Well, there I'm starting to find my way, but
Yeah.
it's more for like
It's all blurring. If you can find your way with designers, they'll connect you to the artist friends. That's as simple as that.
So quick two things I would add to this. India Art Fair in February first week. Best place to sort of just have look through all the galleries that are there. There's also Art Mumbai in November. So depending when you're here, you can see all the galleries, young galleries, old galleries, all of that, and take your pick. There's also some biennales happening. Bengal Biennale
Kochi.
first edition. Sorry.
Kochi. I've
Kochi
been there.
next
Next year.
year, and Bengal Biennale this year. And you have things like Mumbai Urban Art Festival, which will also happen soon, maybe next year. So there are all these different places to pick them out of. There's also Mumbai Gallery Association that has all the Bombay galleries. And picking out of these and then going to the artists and then following the artist friends who are also artists. That's how I would like stalk people in layers.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
We can also answer them offline.
Yeah, we can also
yeah.
answer them offline.
All you have to do is buy me some tea and coffee, which I didn't get last time. So it's as cheap as that.
Okay, just to conclude, I think a lot of the questions, sort of discussion was also based around this idea of the Maslow pyramid around, when you start buying, you might, a lot of people think of buying as, self-esteem buys. So, getting the big names, I want to show my friends that I have a big name in the house, home, so on. Once you start living with it, you go to the second layer, like the last layer, which is I understand what consumption means. I understand what it's adding to my life. And how I'm having a dialogue with it, a relationship with it over years, yeah. So that's the thought I'd want to leave you with. Thank you so much, Amit and Arjun, for wildly different ways of collecting and wildly different collections. That was that was fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Arjun, Amit, Ayesha, for bringing a very new perspective to this entire setup that is also happening over here. It's been very design heavy also, obviously. But this year, since introducing the visual arts for the first time, I think it has been a fabulous time to listen to you guys and the wonderful stories you've shared. Thanks a lot.